Hi there, boys and girls. I thought we'd have a little fun today, so I'm going to compare the little ZV-E10 with the even more little GoPro Hero 10. This is my little Dougie who's been doing a lot of the filming lately, and this guy, he needs a name too. This is Harry. Harry the Hero, because he is adorable. I love these two cameras a lot. They are different cameras meant for different things. However, a lot of people are using them for the same thing, which is vlogging. I've seen some videos online comparing these two cameras in terms of a vlogging setup. That seems to be something people are asking about. I was curious myself, so I put them against each other in a vlogging scenario, and let's talk about it. All right, I see if I can get through this. One of my kids gave me a cold. I don't think it's the bad cold that people keep talking about. I think it's just a regular cold. Luckily, I have some Neocitrin here to help me along. Lemony. So what I'm going to do is compare these two cameras in various vlogging scenarios and including a studio, because if you're vlogging, you're doing more than just going outside talking. A lot of times you bring your camera in and you set it down and you film your beautiful face. But let's start with an outside static shot on a tripod. Here we go. So let me just show you what I'm working with here. I got the GoPro set up next to the ZV-E10, just as close as I can get for the framing purposes. Okay, so here we are looking at the GoPro. I just have it on the natural picture profile on the GoPro 10. Settings, of course, are all automatic, except I'm in 24 frames per second. And now we are looking at the ZV-E10, just the kit lens at f3.5 at 16 millimeters. And I have this in auto white balance as well. And right now we're at about ISO 400. So this is just, if you wanted to use the ZV-E10 with just the kit lens, which I would not recommend, go get yourself a nicer lens. But we're just comparing right now. If you just bought this package as cheap as you could, and then you just bought this, how would it go? And now let's just test the volume here. I'm in a bit of an echoey alley, and so this is the volume coming from the ZV-E10. It has a little wind muff on top. It's not, oh, there's some noise. How's that, huh? Nice noisy street. Should have done this inside. And we have a little wind muff on top because that comes with the ZV-E10. The GoPro is supposed to have a wind canceling feature so that when you're out, so here's some wind blowing now. How does that sound? It's not a particularly windy day. I tried this yesterday and it was just way too windy. You couldn't hear a thing. So this just gives you a little idea of what you get out of the box with each one if you just set it up on a tripod and then you just film yourself in an alleyway trying not to get murdered. All right. Actually, this is how some people will be using the camera out of the box. This is the ZV-E10 on the standard picture profile. In the previous one, I was using HLG3 because I think that is the best profile that you should use, and then you grade it or you apply a corrective LUT to get the right colors. But if you don't know much about cameras, you'll probably just leave it on the standard setting. So let's be fair to the GoPro in this example, and I will leave it on standard settings in the GoPro. And now it's in basically all automatic settings in the ZV-E10. The reason I did it the other way is that because the ZV-E10 is designed to be used that way. So I don't want to present it unfairly and say this is the image that you're going to get out of the ZV-E10. It is not. I mean, the image is fine, but you can do much better than this image, as I just showed in the previous example. So, but if you don't know anything about cameras and you just want to buy it at a store, press record and see what it looks like, this is what it'll look like compared to the GoPro. But, you know, I wouldn't use it like this, but that's just me. I'm a perfectionist. Now, personally, I preferred the look of the Sony camera more, especially when I was using the HLG. Now, it was an overcast, dull gray day. I think GoPro thrives in the sunlight, sunshine, you know, when you're on a beach and the skies are blue and all your friends are in bikinis and you're living that YouTube vlogger lifestyle that I certainly live up here in Canada with my gray skies and my little children that give me the flu. You know, same thing, but my point is I think the GoPro looks better out in a nice sunny day, and when you're doing static shots like that, especially overcast, the Sony is definitely going to look better. And when you use a lens like a Sigma 16mm f1.4, which I did not use in the test, I just used the regular kit lens to try to keep it as fair as possible. But if you spring a little bit for something like this, you're going to get a really nice blurry background. Check out any of my latest videos, and I am using this lens with the little ZV-E10 to get what I think is very pleasing bokeh. All right, let's move on to the stability test where I think Mr. is gonna have his day. Now let's take you on a little stability test, and the GoPro 10 should kill the Sony ZV-E10 when it comes to stability. Right now, the only stability on the ZV-E10 is the lens stability that comes with the kit lens. So if you don't plan to do any post-processing, and you want really stable footage, then you're definitely going to want to go with the GoPro Hero 10. But however, there is a little trick up the Sony ZV-E10's sleeve. Let's find out what it is. Actually, before I show you the trick up the Sony ZV-E10's sleeve, as I phrased it for some reason, I will show you the active steady shot that is really a digital crop when it comes to the Sony camera, and as you can see, it crops in just too far. It's a big crop, it's like 40%, and the footage is still not that stable. So once again, I think that the GoPro is going to be the way to go, Pro, if you want stable footage. Sorry about all the wind. It is windy as heck out here. I don't want to get demonetized by YouTube by using any religious profanity, but it's as windy as heck. Now I'll show you the hack. You see, the Sony can record gyroscopic data, and then you can run that gyroscopic data through a free program called the Catalyst Browse, and that can make your footage look almost as smooth, if not as smooth, as Mr. GoPro up there. But it is a cumbersome process, and it's an extra bunch of steps, and you have to change your shutter speed and all kinds of things. So in terms of ease of use, GoPro is definitely much, much better. However, the results you can get out of Catalyst Browse cannot be ignored, and I use it constantly. Just check out my channel. You will see that I talk about it all the time. Now, obviously the GoPro is the champ here, and even when you want to use Catalyst Browse, then that is a whole thing. You know, you have to set your shutter speed higher, you have to bring it into post, run it through a Catalyst Browse program, then put that back in. It's several extra steps. It takes a long time. So if you're just somebody that wants to record super smooth footage with an easy workflow, there's no doubt that this is the king right here. Now, since we just gave one that the GoPro is definitely going to win, here comes one that the Sony is definitely going to win. Here's a low light test. Oh, and I should mention, I'm already in pretty dim conditions. I'm in my backyard with just a couple of string lights, so it is quite a low light situation. The camera should struggle right away, but let's see who does worse. Okay, so I have my lights on at 100%. Lights are on at 100%. 75%. They are at 75%. 50%. We're at 50% here. 30%. 30% with the lights, 30%. Well, the Sony was a whole lot better, and that is with the kit lens, which is an f3.5 to 5.6. Once again, if you put on a better lens, something like a 1.4, that's going to let in so much more light that's going to be much, much better in low light. The kit lens is already plenty better than the GoPro, but you put something like this on, and the low light in the ZV-E10 competes very well with even full frame cameras like the Sony A7C, which is known to be great in low light. I did a whole video on that if you want to check it out. Over the left shoulder, huh? I've got it memorized now. That's where the thing pops up, over the left shoulder. But I did do the test with the Sigma lens, so let's compare that to the GoPro. Okay, so the little fella is not meant for low light conditions, but we all knew that. It's got a tiny little sensor, and it's for outdoors. It's for actiony things. It's not for low light environments, and maybe it's also not for our next test. For the studio environment, I wanted to see how it would work under my artificial LED studio lights, because like I say, sunshine, this does quite well, but let's see what it looks like in the studio if this was your only camera and you wanted to use it as a studio cam as well. So this is the GoPro in the studio here. How does it look? How does it sound? I feel like this is about the best I can do under my studio lights. I've tried it a few different ways. If I raise my lights too much, I get overexposed and I lose detail in my face. If I have the lights too low, it gets super grainy and terrible. So this is pretty much the balance that I would use if I were using the GoPro as a studio camera. What do you guys think? So now this is the little ZV-E10 with the kit lens. I'm under the same lighting conditions I was with the GoPro, and I just pressed the intelligent auto, which means I'm doing nothing. I just took the camera out of the box and I pressed record, and this is what it looks like in the studio. What do you guys think in comparison to the GoPro? But in fact, this is how I would actually use the camera in the studio. Right now, I'm recording on HLG3, and I've color graded it in post, and I have attached an external microphone because you can do that without buying a media mod for the GoPro. Yes, you can buy the media mod for the GoPro, and if you were going to use it as a studio camera, then you should do that because you should plug in an external microphone. But the ZV-E10, it makes it a lot easier because the camera is set up to be used that way, and this is what I would do. In fact, I would use a better lens, but we're just doing the kit lens today, so this is what it would look like if you're using the kit lens and you're using all the dynamic range that you can get from your sensor with HLG3 picture profile. Now, once again, in terms of image quality, the Sony is the clear winner to me. The GoPro looks very grainy, very digital. It's got strange colors to my eyes, whereas the ZV-E10, I can manipulate it as much as I want. I can use HLG, and again, that's with the kit lens. Chances are, eventually at least, you'll upgrade to a nicer lens and have even better results. Now, I have talked a lot about image quality, but there's more to it than that. I mean, this thing, you talk about convenience. This cute little fella, he's rugged. He's tough as nails. He's weather sealed. You can dunk him in water and he's still going to keep going. In fact, he's meant to be dunked in water. This thing, you mount it to a car, put it on your motorcycle, have your Richard Branson adventures. You can just stick this thing wherever you want, and it's so discreet. You can literally put it in your pocket. You can use it at all times, and it's so reliable in terms of weather and terrain. Now, little Dougie here, well, yeah, you can't take him anywhere. He's just, he'll be sickly. He's like his old man, sickly. You know, just if you take him out in the rain, you take him out, it's just, he's gonna break. He's gonna die. You can't drop him. Certainly can't mount him on a car. If you're going around vlogging, you gotta get a little, one of those Gorilla Pods or something better, and people see you vlogging, probably start making fun of you. This thing, they might not even notice it. You know what I mean? In terms of convenience, in terms of weight, in terms of size, it's just, this thing is just so great. But the image quality of this guy trumps everything for someone like me that doesn't do any kind of extreme sports or go out in any kind of way. If it's raining, I'm staying in too. Me and Doug, we're gonna have a nice day inside in the studio. So what I will say is, for me, these cameras cannot replace each other. In fact, I use this camera on a chest mount when I'm walking around taking my photo walks with my little Doug. That is exactly why I bought this camera, and to also have an action camera in case I felt action-y, which I never do. So if you're asking me if you could only buy one of these cameras, which one would you buy? I would definitely do the ZV-E10, but that's because that's the type of stuff that I shoot. I still want this, and I still use this, but if you're asking me, you can only have one, I'm gonna go with this. Now for you, that might be different, because you're like, I'm always doing cliff diving. I like to do the backflips and smash my head off the rocks. I'm like, yeah, well, you need this thing. You need it. Well, that's just a fun little comparison. You guys tell me what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give it a like, and ask me a question if you got one. And oh boy, I'm already halfway through my Neo Citron. Might need a second one. I feel pretty ill. See ya!